say they're tending closely to those relationships as they look for those contracts to come up from the local regulators?
I think it's important to remember that cable companies do not truly compete with some of these streaming services. In other words, Comcast does not truly compete with Netflix in the sense that most Americans have one or two providers that actually plug in those cables to your home. That's a very, very powerful position to be in. So if you are that provider of the actual conduit of the internet into somebody's home, you are in a totally different range, in a totally different industry, really, than a Netflix or Amazon Prime. In other words, these new streaming providers still rely on the people who provide the runways, and the runways are really important. And that goes back to your caller's sort of frustration, and some of the other listeners who have talked about their frustration with Comcast and other providers, not just Comcast, let's be clear, is that there hasn't been a tradition of competition truly in the telecom and cable space for access to the internet.
So let me ask you this. I'll give you my own example. I live in a condo with about 250 units. Comcast is the basic provider to that condo building. Now, if I, as an individual owner within that condo, choose to disconnect from Comcast and go, say, to Verizon or go to my choices, what is that going to mean because I have combination, I have telephone, TV, and broadband for my internet service. So what's that going to mean?
So from what I understand, I think it depends on what your building offers. If your building offers Fios and Comcast, then you can choose from the two. But this is what actually the FCC has tried to take this up in the past, whether buildings, multi-unit dwellings, and the access and the options that they have should be considered. And you really are stuck when you move in with whoever the providers are that provide for your building.
And Fios is not there yet. So, we're a long way from that, David.
Well, here in New York, people watch very closely to see how the asphalt is torn up on the streets in front of apartment buildings to see, okay, my goodness, is Verizon being added? Will that give us some leverage? But if your building has cut a deal to get a bit of a discount with Time Warner Cable, as my building has, as an owner, to say in the aggregate we'll be providing here, among other things, it provides less incentive for the building to lobby local officials to allow them to tear up the asphalt one more time, which, as you know, degrades the roads, and it's a pain in the neck. So there are these local, pressures one way or another that vitiate against the idea of true competition.
Interesting. Let's go to Houston, Texas. News, you're on the air.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Sure.
I just want to make a quick comment. I'm 25. I'm one of the younger generation, that never really subscribed to any kind of cable service. And I found that, I'm pretty tech savvy, I guess, versus the average consumer. And I find that, if you're pretty smart about it, you can get it down to maybe $50, $60 a month for your basic needs. But now recently, I feel like the only real basic, or